Robert Whitwell was a man whose life revolved around family, tradition, and kindness. A retired teacher living in a quiet Adelaide suburb, Robert was the kind of grandfather every child dreamed of having, loving, attentive, and steadfastly supportive. His home was filled with relics of a life well lived, photographs of family vacations, shelves lined with well-worn books, and an old video camera he used to document every precious moment. Among those moments, his granddaughter Brittany held a special place. From the day she was born, Brittany was Robert's pride and joy. He lovingly called her Pop's girl, and the two shared a bond that seemed unbreakable. But no one could have imagined the darkness that would later shatter their seemingly idyllic relationship. Brittany's early years were filled with joy and warmth. Robert would take her on fishing trips, teach her how to bake cookies in his cozy kitchen, and capture her laughter on film during family barbecues. But as Brittany grew older, her radiant smile dimmed, replaced by the struggles of adolescence. By the time she reached high school, the once vivacious girl had become withdrawn and moody. Brittany felt like an outsider among her peers, unable to connect and increasingly isolated. To mask her insecurities, she began bullying others, a coping mechanism that quickly backfired. The tables turned, and Brittany became the target of relentless bullying herself. Her family noticed her pain, but struggled to reach her. Cuts appeared on her arms, evidence of self-harm, and her mother, T, took her to therapy in hopes of unraveling her daughter's turmoil. The therapy sessions revealed little progress, and Brittany's inner world remained a mystery to those who loved her. She began seeking solace in dark and unconventional interests, obsessive journaling, horror films, and late-night cemetery visits. It was during this turbulent period that Brittany met Shelby Holmes, a fellow outcast who shared her fascination with the macabre. Shelby quickly became Brittany's closest confidant, their bond cemented over shared secrets and a mutual sense of alienation. Together they indulged in eerie escapades, exploring cemeteries at night and exchanging thousands of text messages about horror-themed fantasies. While Shelby later insisted these were harmless jokes, Brittany's growing fixation on violence hinted at something far more dangerous. By the age of 18, Brittany had moved in with Shelby, hoping to escape the mounting pressures of adulthood. But instead of finding stability, she spiraled further. Struggling to pay rent and bills, Brittany turned to drugs, masking her pain with substance abuse. Shelby began noticing darker undertones in Brittany's behavior. Conversations that once revolved around horror films now included chilling discussions about real-life violence. One evening, Brittany casually mentioned her grandfather's life savings, over $100,000 hidden in his home, and floated the idea of stealing it. Shelby initially dismissed the suggestion as a joke, but Brittany's persistence grew. Robert, living alone in Adelaide, had no idea he had become the target of his beloved granddaughter's sinister plans. His wife, Joyce, was in a nursing home battling dementia, and his days were spent in quiet reflection, tending to his garden and reminiscing about happier times. Brittany, however, saw her grandfather's hidden fortune as a solution to her problems. She convinced Shelby to accompany her on a 2,000-kilometer journey to Adelaide, framing it as an innocent visit to see family. But the true purpose of the trip was far more sinister. When Brittany and Shelby arrived in Adelaide, they parked outside Robert's home, watching and waiting. On their first attempt to break in, a motion-activated light scared them off. Frustrated but undeterred, Brittany's determination only grew. "Don't get attached to him," she texted Shelby. "You might have to kill him." Shelby, terrified and reluctant, withdrew from the plan. Brittany, unfazed, sought a new accomplice. Enter Bernadette Burns, a 22-year-old woman struggling with her own demons. Having lost custody of her child and battling a crippling drug addiction, Bernadette was vulnerable and easily manipulated. Brittany preyed on Bernadette's desperation, convincing her to join the plan with promises of financial gain. In August 2016, the two women set out for Adelaide once more, this time with deadly intent. On a cold evening, Brittany arrived at Robert's home, pretending it was a routine visit. She sat beside him on the couch, flipping through photo albums and reminiscing about family memories. Robert, ever the doting grandfather, had no inkling of the danger he was in. As the evening drew to a close, Brittany claimed she couldn't go through with the plan and texted Bernadette, who was waiting in the car. "I've changed my mind," she wrote. But Bernadette, eager for the money, replied, "Just harden up and do it." As Robert walked Brittany to the door, she pulled out a knife and stabbed him repeatedly in the neck and chest. "Why?" he gasped, staggering toward the kitchen to find bandages. Brittany watched coldly as he collapsed into a chair, bleeding to death. Calmly, she washed the dishes, texted Bernadette, "It's done," and ransacked the house in search of the money. She found only $11,000 and a few valuables. The following days were a chilling display of deception. Brittany returned to Brisbane and joined her grieving family, playing the role of the heartbroken granddaughter. She sobbed during family gatherings, hugged her mother tightly, and mourned alongside her brother, Ryan. For 3 weeks, she maintained the facade, even celebrating her brother's birthday at one of Robert's favorite spots. "I can't look at those photos anymore," Ryan later said. "They're full of lies." But Brittany's lies unraveled when an anonymous tip led police to her and Bernadette. Their arrests sent shockwaves through the family. In court, Brittany showed no remorse, claiming she was inspired by the TV series American Horror Story. Adding insult to injury, she accused her grandfather of abuse, a claim swiftly dismissed by the court, but one that left emotional scars on her family. The aftermath was devastating. Robert's wife, Joyce, passed away shortly after his murder, unable to cope with the loss. Brittany's parents separated under the strain, and Ryan struggled with guilt, wondering if he could have prevented the tragedy. For T, the pain of losing her father and her daughter was unbearable. "It was my dad. My daughter killed him," she said. "She destroyed us." Brittany's story became a haunting reminder of the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of unchecked darkness. Her actions left a trail of heartbreak, a fractured family, and an unanswered question. How could someone so loved commit an act so unthinkable? In the end, Robert's legacy lived on, not in the tragedy of his death, but in the love and values he instilled in his family. For those left behind, the only solace lay in preserving his memory, ensuring that his life was remembered not for how it ended, but for the love and joy he brought to those around him.